up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Comin and Clutch. My name is Lorenzo Giacomini, aka The Speedy Guidi.
And my name's Cody Lewis, aka the LA Car Spotter. And today we have a very special guest. He's a good friend of mine. He's a film whiz and director, and he's best known for his recent production of the music video One Shot for Fast and the Furious. Yes, the Fast and the Furious. He's an automotive enthusiast, and he is the owner of Advent Films. Let's give it up for AJ Bleyer.
AJ, welcome to the show.
Oh, man.
You forgot to mention the part that he's a future Academy Award winner.
I mean, that's kind of
I
like
put that
goes
in there. I
without
thought
saying.
yeah.
It goes without saying
You don't
that
wanna
this
jinx
guy's
it.
going to win an award.
Yeah.
They'll figure out by the end of this video, they're going to be like, that guy, he's going to be win an award.
I'm so stoked to be here. I just love you.
Thank you for coming
enjoy
on.
you both so much, by the way.
Dude, thank you for coming on and just being the man
Oh,
in the middle of this pandemic.
in the middle of the pandemic, risking life and limb.
Yes.
To be here.
Sorry for our limited setup.
Dude,
you
guys
we-
can't see
compared to what
behind
you
the
have
camera.
with your.
This place is sick. This place is sick. You probably have $5 million in cars in the other room. I did not expect this looking at the set here.
I mean, this is our
Yeah.
true Mickey Mouse set. Like,
Yeah,
it's
right.
Great. I love it, man. If you guys can
We
speak
got
on
two
this,
cameras, two microphones, two dinguses, one professional. Let's do this.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
wait, hang on. So let's just start this because I met you for the first time at the Porsche Club car show at the
Yeah.
Santa Monica Airport,
That's right.
and you introduced me to him. So how do you know him?
So I know AJ kind of just through events and stuff. I think through car shows. I think at the time when I met you, you were working for O'Gara, so it had to have been like one of their car shows or events that they were setting up, and you and Mo and were always on site. You were always shooting for O'Gara and doing stuff for them. So I would always like basically just follow whatever O'Gara was doing and try to go to all of their events. So
And you did.
yeah,
You were everywhere.
literally. So so I met him there, and I always saw him behind a camera, and then started following him on Instagram, and just every time I would see him do something, it would get cooler and bigger, and like the budget was bigger, the effects or the just like the drama was bigger. It was crazy. So like I've seen kind of the progress for a while, and right now I feel like you're on a super high, right? So
I am. I'm pretty stoked right now. Thank you. That's so kind.
yeah,
So nice.
for sure. So
How'd you get so you said O'Gara? How'd you get started filming with O'Gara?
It's funny. I was working at the Apple Store, and I was always a huge car guy. Grew up in Southern California. Spent every weekend at Snake, just with my friends, all of the time. Tried to recreate Top Gear with my friends. Did the best job we could. Old Subarus and Mazda 3s. And
That's actually awesome.
like just recreating Top
as
Gear
close as we could.
like on camera, or
Yeah.
just like
Stealing
just
their audio
like
sometimes.
in
with
life,
Clarkson
just
overview.
yeah, that's awesome.
Loved it. Started following O'Gara Coach as my local exotic dealer. And at the time, this is a long time ago, but their media wasn't anything special. And I felt like
Sure.
I could do stuff at that level. And it wasn't because I was so great. It's because it was like they were just posting.
They were just
GoPro
that
footage.
bad.
There was just nothing going on. And a friend of mine left the Apple Store and began working at the Aston Martin Beverly Hills dealership. And I just
Okay.
was like, dude, I have to get a meeting there. I have to. After enough pestering him, finally he said yes. I got a meeting with the brand manager there, a wonderful man named Paul Radford. I put on a suit. I came in. I was like, hello, I would like to be your media guy. And he said no. And I was like, okay. And I went home, and I was bummed because I spent the night looking at their YouTube, and I was like, they're not doing anything. I know I can. So I actually Craigslisted a camera, came back, a nicer camera than I had, and was like, let me just shoot something for you. It's a Thursday. I won't touch a single car. I won't do anything. Can I just shoot something? I said, sure. Shot it for them, delivered it same day. They liked it. They invited me out to Willow Springs, which was my first time on a racetrack to shoot an event for them. Kind of just became O'Gara's guy for Aston Martin. And then they kind of started using me for their other brands, became their kind of guy for Lamborghini and Rolls Royce, and I started getting enough of like a little portfolio shooting for these different dealerships all under O'Gara coach, but it was enough to like start shooting cool car stuff. And yeah, that was really how it all kicked off. It got to the point where I never worked for O'Gara formally. They offered.
You're always like a private contractor, like
always, yeah. Because I wanted to be able to do my own stuff, and I was working at Apple at the time.
Yeah.
And I loved Apple. Apple was so good to me. I thought like that was the company I was going to work for forever.
You were like, I made it. Dude, I'm working at Apple. I made it.
I loved it. I was always an Apple fan.
But were you doing film? Like, I mean, obviously you said you were trying to recreate Top Gear, but like, what was your like educational background or like film background? Just like
turned you up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just bull crapping around with your friends in a video cam,
no
just
film
like
school, no film,
no formal education. But like,
wow, what
was your experience like behind the camera prior to getting into the automotive scene? Because you were working at the Apple store,
yeah, saying
I could do better than this guy. Where does that come from? Like,
every single weekend at Snake.
Gotcha.
At Comin and Mulholland Drive. Every weekend with my friends.
Because that's a pretty awesome story. I mean, that's one of those like, you know, the proof is in the pudding. Just like, let me show you what I can do, and you did it, and that's basically the ultimate way that somebody wants to get a job.
I just like I like doing it enough that I just did it enough for fun to the point where I was like, okay, I can do it at least at any level.
So it sounds like that kind of kicked off your career, let's say.
At least, 100%. And that guy, Paul Radford, I mentioned my name because I'm very grateful to him and to O'Gara coach for giving me my start. I think for a long time, it's kind of fake it till you make it. And when I had my website, when I was first starting off doing these events, I was doing like super dirt cheap videos for all the sickest car dealerships in LA.
Sure.
And I realized that if someone's hiring someone as a filmer for the first time, and they've never worked with them before, even if they're like great on the phone and their work is super, super cool, you're just, you're trusting someone can like do the stuff they say they can do. And I was like, how can I make myself appear more reputable than I am? And I was like, well, I could just say client list, O'Gara coach, or I can be like, I've done work for Lambo Beverly Hills and Rolls-Royce Beverly Hills.
Yeah, because it's like...
and it worked, and people were like, oh, well, he's good enough
That's great.
For those dealers.
And also I remember, like, vividly remember, if O'Gara didn't require you to, like, wear one of their T-shirts or hats, you were always wearing an Advent film hat. And, like, you would always, like, even before there was probably an Advent Films, there was your hat and your logo, and like you were right. So like I just feel like you were getting the name out there, and not that that's like fake it till you make it, but it was basically like at any chance you get, you were trying to represent your brand and use yourself to brand yourself, and then essentially instead of just being the guy that O'Gara hires every once in a while to shoot some of their stuff, O'Gara was your client, and you were doing work with them, and this,
ladies and gentlemen, oh my god,
we do our research.
Yeah,
yeah, totally. And I just like I was there. I remember it all happening. So like I
did it because I would find like you'd say you were doing a Rolls-Royce event, and I would be shooting these guys all day, and then like lunchtime comes around. Let's say the camera goes down. Let's get sit down. And I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, damn, every single person at this table is an exotic owner. Every single person here has a business that's off the ground. These are like good people to know. Usually they have more than one car. So I would, as a young guy, go up to them and be like, yeah, so, I have my own video production company. And they'd be like, oh, that's good for you. You keep at it.
Yeah, great job, buddy.
How can I make this scene
keep it up, kiddo,
more legit than it could? So it's part of the reason I did the client thing online. I decided, even though my work was kind of event stuff, I wanted to put it in like the nicest frame I could.
Totally.
So I put a lot of effort into the website. I got really nice business cards, and I got a hat. And what I would notice is if I was talking to people all day with this hat on, they would see it and whatever. They wouldn't really think anything of it. And then if I would hand someone a business card, at the end of it, it was just in their eye. You'd be like, okay, like this is a thing, I guess. How big is this thing? Or if they are at a trade show or something, or a car meet, they take 100 different cars because 19 million people want to shoot this guy's crazy car. It just helps them remember who I am.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then I also, when it came time to leave Apple, because I was just making more doing this stuff and it was really my passion, I was like, a lot of people would do like, you know, Cody.com or AJBleyer.com, and I'm really into branding. I'm really into advertising as well. And I thought it would be just so much cooler to like make a thing that's way cooler than I am, like a logo and a vibe and a feeling. So I just thought that would be, who knows how big or small it is, you know, if it's a separate thing.
Absolutely.
And I got to a point where I remember Advent Films was taken, but Advent Film was not. And I was like, oh, okay, I got it. And my website didn't match like my brand name that I filed for, and it just was all really confusing. And it got to the point where I got in contact with the really terrible website that was adventfilms.com. And I was like, dude, can I buy this website from you? And it was like, it was gonna be $5,000. And I was like, all right, if I'm gonna spend $5,000 on the letter S, like I'm all in. I'm all in on this thing. It's like, that's way too much to just like casually be about it. And I did it, and at that point, I just was all in. At that point, that was when I decided.
That was when you
$5,000
went
for a letter that
S.
Mike Tyson can't even pronounce.
Yeah.
Advent Film.
That's awesome. So that was when you, like, in your mind, you officially took the leap to like, now I'm Advent Films,
When,
and
like
like
that point I was in. That was all.
you were in it.
So how many people
spent more money on the letter S in your camera?
Yeah,
and
for real.
in there?
For real.
That is cool though.
That's crazy.
How many people work at Advent Films with you? Is it so you're the director?
Well, now you want him to lift his skirt up
Founder.
and tell you.
No, it's all good. So when I first started, I had a few employees. I hired someone from Apple, some friends that I knew throughout the line, helping me kind of get off the ground. And I'm super glad I did. Now that we're a more legitimate production company, you realize and you learn that a lot of the people you need when you're shooting, and you don't need when you're not. So it's actually pretty thin. We have a few account people and salespeople and stuff, but really it's like, I don't need a hair and makeup person on staff. I don't need like an amazing producer or composer on staff.
Or like an arm car.
Or an arm car on staff. But we have, I mean, you know, our crew is usually somewhere between 30 and 40 if we're on a proper shoot, but, you know, they're all our go-to team, the people we love working with. They're part of the family, but we usually kind of call them when the phone's ringing.
That's cool.
Gotcha.
That way, because I got it before, I would just take a vacation and I would just hemorrhage money, and I'm like, God, there's got to be a better way to do this. And
yeah, trying to keep people on the payroll, I'm sure is difficult. But I'm sure like that's how a lot of the industry is, because like with your type of role as a director, each job and each shoot that you do requires different teams and different groups of people. So so having to like subcontract different types of people each time, I can imagine is just part of the job.
Part of the deal. Yeah.
What's your main role when you're on set?
So I am an executive producer, and I'm also a director. So sometimes, most of the time, I am directing, and that means that pretty much all the creative decisions come down to me. People can bring me a project in any number of ways. Sometimes they'll say, hey, here's the creative, it's already been decided on, we don't need your input on it. You tell us how much it's going to be to get this done. And I go, sure. Sometimes they say, hey, we're looking for a video that kind of does this kind of thing. Do you have any great ideas? Or sometimes it's something in the middle, and they'll say, hey, this is what we kind of want to do. How would you shoot it, storyboard it out? So wherever it really, part of the fun of this project is that the job is so different for every project. We've done everything from like beauty glamour photo shoots for like makeup companies to car stuff to alcohol and liquor stuff. So it's all over the place. One thing that is kind of a weird transition for me right now is most people that direct are not also executive producing. It's a lot of prep and stuff. So I'm starting to finally expand my team and trust other people and start to focus a little bit more on directing than EP.
I would imagine being a producer would be very stressful. Because I remember when I was on sets as a PA, the producer's just putting out fires all day.
But directing is, don't get me wrong, it's way more fun. When I started this, I wasn't like trying to be a director, because without film school, I would just notice all my friends like want to be directors, and it's like saying I want to be the boss. And I was like, yeah, of course.
Everybody wants to be a boss.
But I was an editor first. I just love video editing. I would do skate videos and these other videos, and then I decided I kind of wanted to shoot stuff for me to edit to get my ideas out, and then I began to shoot for my edit, and I realized, that works kind of nicely if I kind of know the pieces I want. I just shoot it. Was okay at shooting, and then as the budget started to come into like actually shoot some stuff, I was like, well, I gotta freaking plan it, I guess. And then it just slowly became, I guess I need a hair and makeup person. I guess I gotta find a cool house for this to happen. Or I guess I have enough budget for lighting. Let me figure out how lighting's gonna work on this now and who do I hire. And slowly I just became the planner type. I am super mega OCD, and that is kind of what like a person is. But producing is kind of like saying, like, imagine someone comes up to you and goes, I want to go on a week-long trip to Yosemite, and I want it to be perfect, and here is all the money to make that happen, and thank you very much. And part of it is the obvious stuff, like, okay, well, I guess where are they going to park? And I guess what equipment do they need? And what do I buy? And what do I rent? And I guess I got to email everyone and say, hey, guys, meet at this spot. There's the obvious stuff, but it's also just thinking about all the other things.
Every little step.
Well, yeah, what will we need? And
like, how are they gonna like? How's their experience gonna be? Like after dinner, what are they gonna do?
Right.
And like, how like is the vibe gonna atmosphere and all that kind of stuff? That's not tangible.
Forget the s'mores, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Stuff, little details and stuff that's not necessarily as
I made
tangible.
so many mistakes along the way. You have no idea. I've done shoots before where like starting out where we'd go to a parking lot, and I'm like, fuck, there's no electricity in this parking lot. I never even thought about that. I never thought about, like, we have to bring in electricity if you're not in a studio, stuff like that. You just learn over the years. Yeah.
Trial by fire, though. That's a great way. You're a very good inspiration to all these little kids watching right now. We had a kid comment on our thing saying he wants to be a photographer after watching Ryan's thing. I was like, just get out there. Just go start shooting. Do it now. He's like, I don't have a camera.
We had somebody comment on our YouTube.
Which is why I saw it immediately. So I was like, that's all I comment. But I was like, he's like, I don't have a camera. I'm like, well, doesn't your phone have a camera? He's like, just get out there and go do it. Like, you're an example just to,
it's
like,
for sure. And also, like,
anyone can do it.
you're living proof that you can go from just like doing nothing or not knowing 100% what is going to come out, and then now you're literally just like pulling all the levers and calling all the shots. So like my most recent experience, if I can even talk about it, well, at least it was, you know.
Hold on, you can't say who the client is, but you can say.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So, you know, it was just like, it was a small production for AJ's standards, I would say, but it was just like, there were police. They had blocked off streets in a major city. They were doing driving cars with the Porsche with the big camera on top, the arm car, and like literally, and like doing smoke and confetti explosions and stuff like that. And it's just awesome to see, because when you see it on TV, it's just there and it happens. But when you see it behind the scenes, AJ is literally like running into the car and then being like, okay, we got to do this. And he runs over to the other guys and he's like, fill up your confetti cannons. And then he runs over and they explode and the confetti goes. And he's like, oh shit, now there's confetti everywhere. He's like, what do we do? And so it literally, like you said, like he's just running around putting out fires. But there's like so many moving pieces.
It takes an army,
he's
man.
just like got literally, it takes an army, but it takes a guy that can literally multitask in like a million different ways. But he has done it in a way that he knows what the guy behind the camera is doing, because he was the guy behind the camera at one point. And he knows what the editor needs to be editing because he was the editor at one point. So like using all of these different experiences that he had work-wise led him to be able to do what he can do now. So like, it's not always like, I want to be a director. Sometimes you're a photographer and then you somehow get into film for some reason or whatever, you know. It just kind of like, but other than that, like, when did you obviously were into cars and you were shooting car shit with your friends and you got in with O'Gara, and then like you became Advent Films with the ability to like do basically anything. Like, when did you do like your first job that wasn't automotive? Because I've seen some other stuff from you, and one of my favorites is like, I think it was like a Sprint commercial or something. It was with Reggie Watts.
Oh yeah, for Firefox.
Firefox.
Yeah,
Jeez.
this
So
is
Reggie Box is like one of my favorites, but
Dude,
it just
he's the coolest dude.
is a complete departure from automotive like altogether. Had nothing to do with cars at all.
Yeah.
So like when was like the first time you did something that wasn't a car job?
I'll tell you the exact moment.
Yeah, well.
So
Perfect.
I was doing the, first of all, great question. I was doing the whole fake it till I make it thing for a very long time. Speaking about that like it's not what I'm doing.
He's
right now.
just like
fraud.
making it till he
I'm a
makes it.
fraud.
That's bullshit.
I was shooting a lot of stuff for O'Gara Coach, and I had kind of gotten most of the exotic dealers in LA. So I was doing stuff for Ferrari, Beverly Hills, and all that stuff. And I ended up getting in contact with this guy who had this new startup, and they were doing vape pens. And he was a really well-funded startup, and he was really into luxury everything. And he was connected to me through a mutual friend, and he was like, dude, I know you shot for Ferrari. If you shoot for Ferrari, you're good enough for me. I want you to do this new really big beauty glamour
Was this
campaign.
like the boxes and the little
This was
things
it was people,
coming
it was
out
models.
of? Oh, okay.
It was a big shoot. It was a big shoot. We had I think like 5 models. I think we had like 200,000 in rented diamonds just for me. I mean, it was real fancy beauty glamour stuff.
Wow.
And it was still photography as well. And he was like, dude, if you shoot for Ferrari, you're good enough for me. So I'm like, yeah, I'll get you like a quote. Yeah, all right. So I'm like, so with cameras, what do you want? I want the best. I was like, okay, so we're shooting Hasselblad medium format. Yes. Okay. For lighting, I mean, we could do it. I want the best. Okay, great. And he just approved everything, and I found myself sitting at this budget that was way bigger than anything I had ever done. And the guy, all the way through, was just like thanking me so much that like a Ferrari photographer would take on this project. I did mainly video, mostly automotive, had never done a beauty glamour model shoot before. And here I was at the helm of this thing.
You're thinking you're like inexperienced, and he's thinking, geez, this guy that does all these monster projects is helping my little dinky operation.
And I didn't want to let him down on top of that. I always thought that when I was starting to try to go at this in a professional way from like high school to for real, I thought the hardest part would be getting like really good at it. But honestly, it's not, because if you just practice something enough, it just happens. It's getting the opportunity to do what you do at like a level bigger than you've done it before.
Fair.
And that is really the hardest thing, convincing someone. Just any big project I've done is someone giving me a chance, especially if it's Mozilla Firefox or a company where it doesn't represent my larger body of work. So those are really important opportunities. And I just was like, I don't want to mess this up. Like, I don't want to blow it for this guy. This is huge for me. So the first thing I did is I went and I got GQ, Vogue, and Cosmopolitan magazine. And I just went in and I got the printed magazines and I ripped out every page that I thought was a good photograph. I knew nothing about model lighting at all. Ripped them all out until I had maybe about 50 of them. Went to bed. Next day, put them all on the wall, removed all the ones, and I told myself I was going to remove it till I had like the 10 that I liked the most. Got the 10 down that I liked the most. I was like, all right, what is similar about these? What do I like about these? And I noticed there was a lighting style that kind of looked similar across everything. You'd have like one main light on one side, a little bit of a light coming in from the background, just kind of catching them on the shadow end. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. And I had enough budget for lighting, so I called someone I knew, and I was like, I have enough budget for a good lighter. Give me a very, very good lighter, please. Someone who knows what they're doing. And they were like, yeah, this is the guy's the fucking man. I go, great. Call him, I go, hello, here are some examples of the look we're going for. What do you think about this? And he goes, oh, great, I'll take a couple like 8x4 floppy indite disc, convert it into a beauty dish with a little doppelganger in it. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds exactly what I was going to say.
Totally, so I was going in the right direction.
Took the words out of my mouth, that's what I was going to do. I did that move for so long. You have no idea. Just before I knew what the tools were, just to not, And now slowly, as I've gotten bigger, better, and I'm not afraid anymore. Just be like, hey, listen, I'm paying you for the day. Can you explain to me what the hell a lollipop clamp is? I don't know how people say that. But the guy, I learned when I finally got there, and I was surrounding myself with all these great people. It was go time, and I was in a beautiful space with fucking tits camera, amazing lighting, amazing models, great lighters and people around me. And what really surprised me is, even though I didn't know the technical terms, I was like, can we, brighter on, the left, on the left side of his face? And the guy was like, yeah, sure. And then he did it, and they knew all the technical, but it just allowed me to just kind of get it to where I needed it to go. And they ended up coming out great. I did many more shoots for that guy, and it led me to, I've done beauty glamour campaigns that have been in Sephora and stuff like that, and it all came from that project. Getting to work on projects other than automotive are super, super fun. I love that question. I know that you asked a similar one to RMG last time you guys were chatting. People have different philosophies on this, so this is strictly into like the opinion zone and not right or wrong. I've had a lot of people come up to me and be like, doesn't it kind of suck to be the car guy? Like, don't you want to do other shit? When you want to do like, you know, more what you want stuff, or music stuff, or beauty glamour stuff? And other people think that it's a really great thing. My personal philosophy on it is, look at like a chef. Like the greatest chef in the world, even if they're like known as the best pasta chef, I'm sure that guy's killer at like a million other things. I'm sure he would love to, if possible, make all kinds of different stuff. From a business point of view, there's a lot more money in being a specialist in something. Being the best at something makes you a lot more marketable than a general overall. It's true with filmmakers, it's true with chefs, it's true with doctors. It's why people choose subspecialties to really dive into. Obviously, those other projects are super fun. I would love a life that takes me to all other kinds of stuff, but if you're lucky enough to find a subspecialty that really grips at you, label me a car guy for the rest of my life. I'd be so happy doing nothing but automotive stuff.
That's actually really interesting.
I was going to say, it's interesting that you say that because, like, on one side, you could say, yeah, like, you are the best automotive. Like, at what point do you go from being the best car guy to being, like, the best commercial making company,
right.
You know? And then you're just, like, known for making everything in a bigger genre.
But every commercial,
perfect.
you
So
hire
like,
production companies that are like automotive.
Yeah, totally. I was gonna say,
people just have that specialty in it, you know, because they are so different. So it's really fun, and it is. Every once in a while, you do get opportunities that are super different. Like this music video, there was automotive stuff in it for sure, but it was a rap video. That was super tight. I got to do a music video for Glass Animals a while back, and that was really fun. The beauty glamour stuff, super, super fun. Like it's so fun. I would love to do some food photography stuff. It's really dope. But from a business point of view, when people call me, it's usually because they're looking for a killer automotive director, and that's kind of the niche that I fall into, you know?
Dope.
That's really rad.
Yeah. Same with journalism, same with anything else, you know?
Yeah.
And you've like won awards and stuff within the automotive, or like, what is it, short films or like short movies kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like all that thermal stuff that was so sick.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, that stuff was gnarly.
So, if you guys know, you probably know. In case you don't know, there's a great place called the Thermal Club in Palm Springs. It is a racetrack, which seems like the biggest.
It's a dreamland. You can barely go there.
I know.
It's literally a dreamland. It's like a racetrack.
I've never been.
It's a racetrack, but it's surrounded by luxury homes.
Yes.
And if you buy these luxury homes, which are automotive focused, so they have the most incredible display garages.
Yeah.
It's not just like cement pits. These are like the house, the garage, and then there's like a house attached, you know? But you get access to the track. So all these people just have the gnarliest race cars and like the sickest shit, and they just have an all-day view of this awesome racetrack. Yeah. And you got multiple opportunities to shoot a few different things.
I was brought out there originally with O'Gara Coat, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, like, Google it. It's worth a Google. Place is fucking wild.
It's crazy.
Can I curse on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fuck, shit, fuck.
There you go.
We're just going to cut it all out, so you're not even, All right, so I think we kind of left off in, like, thermal stuff, and we were talking about, what thermal raceway is like and your first experience doing work at thermal.
That's right. Guys go to thermal for the first time through O'Gara Coach. It's a private club, so you can usually only get in if you're invited. The place at the time was just a desert plot of land with these really ridiculous models of what they hoped it would be one day, and I was like, okay. But I would come there all the time, and it seemed like every time I'd go, there'd be a new building erected and like
early
a new
thermal
one starting.
days. Wow,
this is just wild. So finally, when they hit me up and said, "Hey, listen, we have this place built out enough to do kind of like a welcome video. Would you want to do it?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I would love to do it." So they sent over their idea of what they wanted me to do, and it was just, in my opinion, so lame considering what the place is. It was like a real estate video, and here's a shot of the front, and here's a shot of the house, and here's a shot of the restaurant.
Oh, that's
So,
Oh, by the way, we have a racetrack.
yes. And I was like, guys, what? Like, you guys are so badass. I'd never done like a short film at the time. I really wanted to. I was like, if I could create kind of a narrative that took you through everything you needed to show, would you be cool with that? They said, absolutely. I said, all right, give me a bullet list of like the most minimal
If
stuff.
I could take what you want and do it better, would you be into that?
It's hard to position. Sometimes
I'm sure that's how the conversation goes in your head. Like,
I'd have to give them credit because they said sure, and it was kind of, you know, it's like a little mini movie and stuff. It was kind of a different approach, and
Totally.
they were cool with it, which is awesome. I give them credit for that. So I said, give me a bullet list of the minimum things that need to make it into this video. They said front gate, front of one of the houses, outside of one of the houses. Show that we do food and wine. That's super important for us because other racetracks don't do that. Show that it's like girl-friendly too, that it's not just a guys club, and then that you get your own race instructor as well. And I was like, okay, all right. So I wrote the most basic little story, no speaking or anything, that kind of just took you through all that stuff. And fuck, man, I think I, at the end of the day, spent about $5,000 of my own money on that project because I just wanted it to be so much more than they were coming at me saying like, let's make it a little like, you know, walk around video. I ended up making it a 3-day shoot, putting other people in hotels, having hair and makeup and lighting and stuff just because I wanted to try it so badly. And it was so fun.
you had this opportunity in front of you and you
Yeah.
didn't want to waste it. So, like,
I'm
when
so
was the
happy
next
with it.
time you were going to be able to shoot
Just
the
to do
welcome
that
video for
shoot,
a
like,
place like
There
Thermal?
was one shot that we had just tracking with a red camera, and like in that one frame was $16.5 million worth of cars, just because they had like the
Holy
Vulcan
crap.
and the 177 and like this old like DB4 GT and
No
we-
way.
we had
Was that
a-
when was that inside the house?
That
Like
was
when
in-
they stocked that
they
house?
stocked everything. We had a TDF, Ford GT,
Oh, the shot.
GT Black Series. We had a GT2 RS.
If you haven't seen this video, you have to see it. How would they find it? It's got to be on
If
YouTube
you just
or
search
something.
the Thermal Club, it's a 5-minute short movie. It has a
It's
red
so
cover.
it's so
That's
gnarly.
so radical.
And this is the one where you use the X5 like arm car thing, or
We
is that a
used-
different?
No,
one?
that was separate.
That was
one
a different
got me
video.
That other opportunity.
So that one
That
was,
was worth it.
so one of them, the first one was a guy, right? Or it was focused around a guy,
Yeah, it was
and
kinda
then
like
the
a little
second
marriage
one
story.
was a woman.
Right.
Right?
that one was.
Or did I ruin the
No, no,
surprise?
no.
The second video.
Second video.
Because both those videos are super gnarly, but yeah, you got to see both of those videos.
Watch them.
But yeah, what was the deal with the second video?
Second video was a company called Space Cam, and they make. So when you're looking at a
That's
camera car, like a camera car, one of the fancy ones, it's really 4 parts. You have the car, you got the crane, you got the stabilizing thing at the end of it, the gimbal, and then you have the camera at the very end. The gimbal, there's a lot of different gimbals that you can put on a lot of different cranes and a lot of different cars. So it's always a bit of a combo.
Yeah.
This gimbal is one of the fancier, nicest ones because unlike the other gimbals, it allows you to like roll in a 360 and all the cables are tucked away. It's really nice. So they were like, hey, we just finished building this gimbal. We're going to put it on this brand new X5M camera car. We'd love to test it out. If you can think of something cool to do, we loved your last video. We can do something sick. And I was like, okay, so it's a free camera and
It's
camera
like it's
car.
such a dream.
I got
so
Like,
sick.
here we got the sickest, most expensive, fastest shit ever.
Yeah.
We want to see what you can do.
And the CEO of the company is such a badass. He's a dude roughly our age, and he was just like, "Look, I'm just trying to have fun with this. I want like my girlfriend in it. I want her friend in it. Like, I just
That was
want
his girlfriend?
Mhm.
Must be nice.
And she was lovely, and I just was like, all right. So first thing we need is like a place to run the car because you can't do it on like Olympic Boulevard and
Sure.
permitting and stuff. And I was like,
What do you
have
mean?
any-
I've seen them pull arm cars up like Mulholland and shit.
It's
It is
sketch.
sketch.
It's
I've
sketch.
seen it
I've done
happen,
that
though.
The risk with that is like if the cops don't like it, they just send you home. But like you're paying for so much to be there, like 5 guys in the car to like.
Yeah,
roll up.
totally.
How much is that for the day, if you don't mind me asking?
There are different
I'm sure they
combinations
vary,
of
yeah.
ones, but
Like the one that you
ballpark all in, you're looking at like $12,000.
So people always think of when they see a camera car like that, they always call it a Russian arm.
The Russian arm, yeah.
Is
The Russian
that-
arm was one of the first kinds of cranes that came out there and is a staple in the film business.
Okay.
But it's one of the crane arms. There's a bunch of different ones. There's moto crane. There's black unicorn arms. So all the kinds of you wouldn't know unless you know. But
Interesting.
that was one of the first and most popular ones for a long time. So it just people coined it as the Russian arm as the kind of tool that it is. But yeah, that's
It's like Q-tips.
I want to change gears just a little bit. These are great stories. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
But this is, in fact, a car podcast. So we got to ask, you said you've always been into cars your entire life. Can you tell us how you initially got into cars?
Isn't it so dumb that we're into these machines so much?
I know.
just can't
Ridiculous.
believe,
All
like,
they
even as a
do
car-
is bring us places. And it's just a
Sometimes
machine
poorly.
built to bring us places.
yes.
Yeah.
The most expensive ones get us there.
Right.
Slower and less
with more
efficiently.
trouble. I can't tell you, I didn't think of myself as like such a car guy until I've like gone to parties and I'm like, oh yeah, you into like cars at all? And they're like, not really. And I'm like, oh.
No,
I
I'm
just
gonna
lost 80% of anything I have to talk about
I
right
know.
now.
It's funny when you go to a party and you just find that car guy. I'll just
Yeah.
sit in the corner with that guy all night, just talking about
I
absolutely
didn't
nothing.
realize I was a car guy until I had nothing to
Nothing.
say about anything else.
It's so true.
It's so sad. My dad was a car guy. He has 2 cars that he just caught his eye that he bought for nothing and slowly fixed up as I was growing up himself and with me, and that's how we got into it. He has a 1969 Mach 1 Mustang.
Sick.
Which is
Dope.
cool, right?
Fastback, right?
And then he has this other car that growing up, I used to just be all about the Mustang and never heard about it. This car, it's rare, it's obscure, it's not even that powerful, but I've come to really appreciate it. He has a 1967 Fiat Dino Spider.
Sick.
The 2.0s, the old.
Those are sick.
the
I
little
mean,
kind of Art Deco
with the
looking-
I don't
like
even know what
headlights
that is.
in
I'm looking
the
it up
grill.
right
It
now.
looks, it's like a Ferrari Dino, but actually way classier looking,
Yeah.
way smoother
They call it
looking.
the poor man's Ferrari because
Yeah.
it was designed by Dino, who
Yeah.
was his son, and then I mean you guys know this.
Oh, this thing's sick.
It's
It's
wild,
fantastic.
It looks like
it's
a-
so rare. That's
What's
incredible.
fun about it is like he just liked the look of it. That's like totally my dad's aesthetic. and
Those are
we'll
2
go back to.
really badass cars.
Fun,
to
right?
have.
Like I
Fuck
really
yeah.
respect because my dad's into like obscure shit, and just the 2 that he went for
Good.
was like good for you.
Hell yeah. I mean, the Mach 1 is just a bitchin'
It's
badass
just the best
muscle
looking
car.
Mustang
Like,
in my
it's got a
opinion.
big
69,
fat
70.
fastback. Like,
That's
hell
radical.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that Fiat Dino, I love
Well, with a
that.
dad like that, it's easy to get into cars.
That
That's
was,
like,
yeah,
totally.
He took me to Pebble Beach once. We didn't go to any of the parties or anything, but we just drove around and walked around and stuff, and it
That's more than enough.
changed my life.
Isn't Pebble Beach just the best? We were obviously I'm assuming you were too. That
11
car-
months out of the year are a come down from Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
Until I get to do it again.
My-
That's actually what this job
That is a
doing.
sick. That is a sick
Monterey,
jacket.
wow.
I shoot for McLaren's F1 team every Pebble Beach except for this year.
Do you spend time at the Bernardus Lodge all day then? with
this
McLaren?
guy knows fucking everything.
Yeah, well, he's
I
been doing
freaking
Pebble
love it.
Beach his whole life.
Yeah,
So,
I've been
like,
going there.
Born at Quail.
I got it.
Literally.
I got into cars because I went to the Concorso Italiano in like 5th grade, and I was the Ferrari Puma guy.
I
I
was
was-
Dude,
Italiano.
but
I've
I
never
fit
been
in there.
sick of. Oh, I'm sure you're. So
But I was
perfect.
like, I'm Italian. I'm wearing my red Pumas. I
Yeah.
fucking own this place. And everyone
Yeah.
else is like, fuck yeah, you do.
yeah, you're home. Don't you feel? And
yeah, it's
every
like all the
conversation-
other tools that think it's cool to wear Ferrari clothes.
Hey, I was literally like however old, but that was the year I remember vividly
man.
because the Gallardo came out that year, and I got my first model car, and I was like, I'm gonna start collecting all these. And
You got a model Gallardo,
Hell yeah,
Ferrari
dude.
clothes,
Ooh.
and a model Gallardo. Really, really crushing it.
I know, right?
It's one of those
Oh my
looking
God.
back. One
One of those cringe
Your
moments.
car spotting must be off the chain at Pebble. You must.
Oh
just
hell
be
yeah!
dumb,
I don't
sure.
even. I have my phone and my camera just like
Yeah.
I drove him around for 5 minutes downtown. Remember that we were with Eric,
on Ocean Ave.
and we were driving down in my buddy's Quadrifoglio, and like they're just like stop, and Cody's and like my buddy's like, oh my god, what? And they both get out of the car and they jump out, and there's a
Parade of
party of Sennas just driving, like 8 Sennas driving down. We're all like, no one's ever seen these cars before. Like, just all driving,
All of
and then they leave, and everyone's like, what the fuck just happened? That was like the most Senna's ever. Like,
I mean, I feel like Car Week is every car spotter or a car guy's dream. I mean,
Yeah.
it's if you've never experienced it, it's literally like a small, beautiful town that all the regular cars leave and everybody comes with their exotic cars. So it's just like exotic car fantasy land that everywhere you go, there's just like
everything's
Everywhere.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Go to a coffee shop. Oh, there's a Chiron just parked outside.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's 5 F40s in a row. Like, it doesn't
Exactly.
make sense. And the best part is that unlike other car shows, the whole flex of Pebble Beach is that the cars, no matter how old or classic, are in functioning, working order. Because to win the Concours d'Elegance, like, it's the best thing to see. In order to win, your car has to start up and drive and be flawless.
Yes.
So you see these guys that are all donned up as judges just going around to these like 80-year-old old guys just sweating bullets. Their like 1847 Bentley like starts up. And like sometimes it doesn't. And they just wasted all this money and time and like they threw it and just it's always the moment. Seeing they can
And the judging is just the scrutiny is real.
Very
I've
white
seen-
glove.
I
like,
was
what
gonna
is
say-
this hair
I
doing
was
in this
gonna say,
engine bay?
like, one time I saw them like unlatch somebody's trunk and with a white glove stuck their finger in like the butthole little clasp of the trunk to see if there was any grease in like the trunk latch. And it's just like, what? Like, who forgot to wipe the trunk latch? You know, like.
And the oldness of some of those cars. I always like to just see the oldest one I can find. There was this Rolls Royce last year, and it was like they didn't have headlights. They had little gas
Gas lamps.
with magnifying glasses.
Yeah.
Like the
They're the
just
one-
kind of, or like wooden wheels.
Like, that's
with a
totally
spare
safe.
one is like in perfect order. This wood from like 1905 with the rubber looks brand new, like it's from the dealer.
It's so true. Like those cars on that lawn are the most expensive and nicest cars
oh
ever.
my god.
And that's the whole thing. Like you can go to the Geneva Auto Show, you can go to where else? What like any kind of like car rally, Gumbel, and there's nothing that even touches.
But
it.
in 10 years, when all those guys die,
Yeah.
who's going to be into those cars? I mean,
Sons.
I love it.
That's
I
why
love it,
so
but
funny story.
I brought this question up a while ago, like pre-war stuff.
Yeah.
Like in 10 or 15 years, like who is really going to be into that?
I'm going to say something controversial. It's a downer thing, so I'm sorry. Car culture, in the way that we know it, if I were a betting man, is going to be gone in the next 15 years. I think we're going to get to a point where electric cars are so powerful and immediate and fast that they outperform human reaction speeds, kind of like iRobot level stuff. And we're almost already there, where SUVs can like go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds and stuff.
No,
And
this
as that just
Hummer
becomes
EV.
more and more and more accessible, the next thing is going to be, in my view, a infrastructure reinvention, kind of like the big highway system,
Sure.
but with all automated driving, where the cars are already good with proximity and turning for themselves. If the whole road is like that, there's a natural disaster, things automatically divert. Just it's all going to be automatic. And for people like us who love to drive, it's going to be tough. But for 90% of people, hey, do you want to just dick around on your phone as you go from work to whatever? Yeah, it just takes you there, of course.
You sound
And
a lot
then-
like our last guest, Johnny Lieberman. He said the same
Yeah.
exact thing.
It's
So
gonna
you
happen.
are on the right path, sir.
Exactly.
And
Johnny says
you're a
it.
smart man.
But upholstery, it's all going to be about coach building, which is going to be a weird full circle compared to like how Rolls Royce and these other brands
Interior living
It's all going to be
rooms because
who
you're not going to
gets
have
out
to
of the nicest
control.
travel pod. You know,
Yeah.
is it going to be the Rolls Royce travel pod? And I'm sure you can buy them, but most people will just
That's so funny that you said that because I just saw like these days sometimes you're scrolling through Instagram and it's so hard to tell what's real and what's CGI.
Yeah.
And I saw a woman sitting in her apartment and all of a sudden the window and the door opens up and like a train comes into her apartment and just opens up. She gets into like her personal little train car and then it just drives away. And it just like seems like that might be the future.
already
Like
seen
it just opens up in your living room and you walk into something that is, again, like another living room. You don't have to control it. It's just another, place to sit. And then it closes and you go on your way.
It's kind of scary to think about, huh?
Yeah, and then it's going to be
don't
really
like it.
rare to like find a piece of land to drive
Oh my
a
God.
car that uses fuel made from dead dinosaurs
Right.
and trees.
I already hear my kids being like, I don't have kids yet, but I can already hear them saying,
my
like,
future
so you used
kids.
to be into this like machine that was dirty and loud and inefficient and just polluted the earth everywhere.
Yes.
Versus this like plug-in thing that just goes
And
and
It
it's
cleans
silent.
itself, and
Right.
it's white, and it's like
Yeah.
Tron. That's actually
Yeah, the
I
first
can
time
see
I
it being
saw
like
it,
But back to this point that
Yeah.
you made about pre-war cars, my buddy, his dad puts cars into the concourse at Pebble Beach, and he's
Yeah.
won a couple of times. And he comes up to me at Pebble Beach, and he's like, "Renzo, look at all these cars. This is a load of shit. My dad has a whole collection. Thing is, when all these motherfuckers die, when all these guys croak, no one's gonna want to buy these cars
Nope.
because maybe we will have people who want to buy them. Like I will maybe. I'm not a pre-war guy, but the post-war cars are beautiful. But either way, there's so much work.
Right.
Specifically
Yeah,
pre-war cars, like
upkeep
no
and-
one in our generation is gonna be like, I don't want to crank the oil
Right.
and get the thing going and then light the fire for the
Imagine
headlight.
people
Like
being
no
that
one's gonna do
hyped
that.
about like keeping a 1994 computer running. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. When something breaks, it's a bitch and a half to find a part for. Even when it is working, it's super inefficient, and the risk of breaking something else is super high. Yes, it's nostalgic. Yes, if we all agree that it's a cool thing and
Right.
a slice of history, how fun is that? You can boot it up and click around, but it's
Yeah.
useless,
Totally. I mean, they're basically just pieces of art, right? At that
Yeah.
point.
What do you think is going to happen now that cars are becoming more and more computer centric? Because back in the day, like a 2005 Ford GT is the same analog driving experience then and now and in 100 years. But as we get to these machines that are so computer assisted, more and more and more and more, and technology gets kind of outdated and worthless as it goes, like there's no real like nostalgia or repairability on like
Right.
old stuff.
They're obsolete.
What do you do like when the navigation goes out in like a 2002 hypercar? Like
I don't know. I was thinking like 20 years from now, when you look back at a Taycan, it's just going to be a piece of trash because obviously there's going to be a car that does it so
welcome
much
to
better.
the car show.
That has, but seriously, because it's going to progress so much that current electric cars, I mean, who even knows if the batteries will last that long, right? But like they'll just kind of push them to the side. Maybe the cars like the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris with the engines will still be coveted because they're rare, but
Right.
the electric cars made nowadays are just going to be a dime a dozen. All the Teslas, what do you think is going to happen to all these Model
I mean,
S's? Like,
just if you think about the degradation of batteries and all that kind of stuff, like
that's a
just
depressing subject.
just the fact that these cars have batteries in them, and if you want to collect a Taycan, you're like, oh man, this was like the first time Porsche ever made an electric car. Like, I want to buy it and like keep it on ice, like collect it. Like in 30 years, those batteries are going to be rotted and corroded inside out, and like
Tesla
they're
does
not.
have a battery service. Like you can remove the battery pack from a Tesla
Sure,
and pop a new one in.
but after a certain amount of times, like 20 years from now,
Yeah.
if you're driving the Tesla Model SP 40,000,
Great car,
R,
by the way.
that-
The
yeah.
R. Like we stick the R, the R spec.
yeah, I mean, it's got to be the performance
Got
model.
it.
But like, you go back and you're like, check out my vintage cars and look at my 2012 Model S,
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any batteries because after 20 years they corrode and turn inside out. So like, yeah, you're right. And like, where are you gonna go to like replace the screen on your Taycan when the dash and the air conditioning and the entertainment is
I'm sure.
all just like out of date?
But hey, I'm sure people are saying that 40 years from now with like 250 GTOs.
No,
right?
but I mean,
Same
all
thing.
of that stuff is so much more analog that
But
it's easier
there's not a
to
lot of
kind
people
of
who
like.
can do that though.
It's true, but it's easier
In the future,
to
there will,
manufacture.
in the future, there's going to be people who are like, I can fix this Taycan in 2 seconds, plug in, and do it.
It's gonna be a wild west.
You know what I mean?
now.
It's going to be, and like, I don't even know where I'm going
It's
with
going to
that,
be
but
pretty interesting.
It's going to be
It'll
crazy.
be different, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I cannot hear us being grumpy and be like, oh no, we used to
Yeah.
have no automatic
when this podcast has 60 million subscribers.
We're gonna look back.
Look back and be like, damn, my hair looked good back then, right, Cody?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, AJ. I also want to ask you, because we didn't know what kind of car guy you were when we were asking when we were writing these questions. We're like, all right, Cody's like, he could be a vintage guy. We don't know. He could be a new guy. Like, what cars make your gears turn? No pun intended.
I have really fallen in love with exotics. I think it's a simple answer. It's not even, I wish I could be like, I'm only near a cool Porsche guy. I'm
right.
not. I respect it so much.
You would be like, there's 60 trillion of them people. Of those.
Because of the work I did with O'Gara, and like you guys, I've been very lucky to drive a lot of cars that I do not want to pay to insure. And I've gotten to drive everything. And what's interesting is when I first started driving those cars, having, not gone to racing school or being a formal, taught driver, people would, like my friends, non-car friends, would be like, isn't it kind of like just driving one car to another car to another car? And I had to explain to them that if you're going from like a Jetta to a Civic to a Mazda 3, those cars are the result of so much compromise to make them like cost efficient that they really aren't that wildly different. They're kind of different solutions to the same problem. But when you throw that much money, $250,000 plus, into a driving experience, you get such clear ideas as to where the priority of each brand is. For example, I was spending a lot of time. I had a week with an Aventador for my birthday. It was a very kind thing Lamborghini did. And I was like so fucking hyped. And I spent a week building a Lambo playlist that was filled with obnoxious music. And I was fucking hyped. And I get in the car. And
just the loudest, hardest
the
techno that you could blast through.
As many people hated me as possible.
Most Euro trash.
And I got in the car, and there was no Bluetooth for music in that car.
Oh, no way.
It was spec'd out for $560,000. It was a 2010 Aventador, I think. No, it's later than that, like 2012, and it didn't
just Aventador.
It was an Aventador.
Yeah, but still, it's a freaking $500,000 car.
And it didn't have Bluetooth. It had Bluetooth for phone calls, but not for music. And I was just like, motherfucker, interesting. Or there were other things.
Well, because all the music of that car is coming out of the ass.
And that was their philosophy. But that's what I love. It's the like Doug DeMuro with the quirks and features of stuff.
Right.
There were cars that did things so incredibly well, and cars that had little things that stuck out to you. Why would the armrest be like that? I'm just falling into it. I spent a lot of time with the new Aston Martin Vantage, which is a great car, and I wanted to pop the hood to show someone under it, and I couldn't find it until I realized it was under the passenger footwell because they didn't port it over when making the American version of the car.
Yeah.
And it's just those little things, or exotics that don't have a latch to open up the trunk, like in the car, like it's only on the key, or you have to get out and do it yourself.
I'll give you another example.
Yeah.
Ferrari's infotainment is notorious for being awful,
Terrible.
but it's because Ferrari puts zero money. There's probably James May said it amazingly. They have one Italian guy, this is fine. And but they have 100 people working on suspension, and 1,000 people working on the engine, 1 million more working on aero, and it makes this cohesive racing car.
100%.
But they don't care how it is to drive every day because it's not made for that. It's a purebred sports car.
I think AJ made a really good point that when it comes to a company that doesn't have the financial restraints, then you can really see what's important to them in their cars.
For better or for worse.
And for better or for worse. But especially with sports cars, I mean, it's undeniable that they put way less focus on their infotainment and music and all that kind of stuff.
Expect it to.
And even cars it wasn't until 2009 or 2010 that the G-Wagon even got Bluetooth, and that's like a G-Wagon, which you would think now is considered like a luxury SUV, but prior to, it re-releasing as a luxury SUV, it was a safari, rugged SUV. So that's just one thing that just didn't come over. But, you've had the opportunity to obviously work with a ton of different brands, like pretty much all the good ones. What are some of your favorite brands to be able to work with? I mean, obviously car-wise, but also just companies, because I know that a lot of companies have a lot of restrictions, and then some companies are just like, do whatever the hell you want. So like, give us some insight.
Well, I'm gonna be careful to not rag on.
Well, don't put yourself in a situation where a company's not going to want to work with you again. But like,
there have been a couple of companies that have really like surprised me in really awesome ways. I would say one of the coolest parts about like it's crazy to think that if I think about where I was 5 years ago, which is when I was starting my company, I was doing some video work for my local car dealership, and then for the past few years, I'm going to Pebble Beach and I'm saying hi to these different executives, and people know me, and I'm like, I guess I am a very, very small piece of the automotive community, and how cool is that? When you get to meet the people behind a lot of these exotic manufacturers, it's way less of a machine than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
Like Honda, VW, BMW, they sell millions of cars a year.
They sell
They're
cars.
Huge.
Yeah.
But like small manufacturers like Aston Martin, I mean, I've met and know well the president of Aston Martin and their head of marketing and their design guys and the people who are there. And they're such nice people. And when you get to hang out with these people and work with them on projects, not only are you like, damn, I'm a part of these meetings that are like really going to influence, I'm going to see this in the launch of this vehicle, but they're just cool guys. Like the last shoot I did with Aston Martin, we shot some stuff for the DBX before it came out, and I ended up just crashing at the head of marketing's house because we just were hanging out, and he's the nicest dude. And Aston Martin, I'd say, again, I'm talking about the American division here, but they are filled with the nicest, kindest human people. I just enjoy them all so much. So people I would love to grab a beer with. They're really, really cool. I would say...
it kind of doesn't surprise me.
I have to second that though, because I've met a lot of them as well at Pebble Beach.
Pebble, yeah.
And the last day at the end of the concourse, they invited me and my boss over for a drink at their house, and we all just sat in this like fire pit, and it was like the head of marketing and the head of this and the head of that, and like me and my boss, and I was just sitting there, and like we're all just drinking,
right?
And they all just like tell us your highs and lows of the car week, and they were just like such nice people. And like you said, I want to just drink with these guys and have a great time.
It doesn't surprise me, because when you think of like Lamborghini, you think these guys are like they're like let's go to a club and you know, like those guys. And then you think of Ferrari and you think of these guys are just like, you know, fucking thumb up their ass with the finest wine and the finest cigars over the finest vineyards.
Ferrari might be because they're
you know,
huge now, but
and like, and I'll take that off of your plate in case you were gonna say shit about them. I don't get paid by Ferrari, so
I've had Ferrari people sit down in meetings with me, and when they did not hear an Italian accent, their excitement to work with me palpably.
Maybe I should start working. Speak
that's
my
hilarious.
broken Italian with them.
No, but like Aston, from like even from the experience of walking into their dealership, like Aston Martin has this very inviting, homey type of vibe. And when you said like Honda and those companies, like they sell cars versus these expensive companies, they're selling a lifestyle and they're selling an experience, and they're, you know, the thought that goes into their cars are way more than just how can we make this cheap and efficient and hopefully not break. It's always like, what's the person that would be driving this car, and the person that drives this car, like what materials do they want to feel? But Aston, like all of their dealerships are very like warm and look like living rooms, and like I get that vibe from Aston.
Isn't that
like,
cool?
Immediately.
I really enjoy them, and they have a special place in my heart just for that. They're also the first manufacturer that ever gave me a shot ever. I was shooting with them, and they invited me to shoot Pebble Beach for them. And I jumped from McLaren, with Aston Martin Beverly Hills to shooting Pebble for Aston Corporate, and that was like my first, you know. So I'm always grateful to them as well. I've had certain people be, you know, difficult or a little bit, you know, have too much to prove. But the best thing about like the clientele with them is when you work for O'Gara Coach and you go to all their events. You go to events for all the different brands, and you so quickly realize how different the groups are.
Like, say no more.
With Aston Martin, everyone there was like a cool dad. Like everyone there was like an architect, and like he had a room in the back where you like play guitar, drums a little bit. Like they were super cool.
Right.
The Bentley guys, fun. They like to have a little joke or two, but they're like ready for bed.
But they like play golf. And
Yeah, you know.
like they're ready for bed.
He's not going to Sunset GT anytime soon.
The Rolls Royce guys are a real interesting mix of old and young, and just meeting in the middle in a weird way. You have like NFL players, and you have like some guy who's like franchise his business. Without
you have the
question,
owner and the player.
The best parties, Lamborghini.
Yeah, for
I was
sure.
at the Quinta, and we were all going to go to dinner, and we were all gathering there to all like caravan out to dinner, and we're there, and there's about 12, 15 of us, and it just reeks of weed. It smells of weed so hard. And I'm just like, I'm kind of trying to figure out who it is, and like, I'm looking at these guys. Is it the guy in the big cat and space t-shirt? Is it the guy in the velvet jacket? I just can't tell. And then there's this one,
everybody just looks so crazy.
Everyone.
It could be anybody.
So then there was one older guy, this fit older guy, and he seems real cool. He's wearing sunglasses at night. And I'm just talking to him because we've now spent a day or two together. And I'm like, listen, man, do you smell the weed in this place? He's like, oh yeah. You want some? And like, tons. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, dude, I'm still
you
shooting
smell
it.
that?
I'm good, I appreciate it. So I'm like, and now I'm just fascinated by this guy. And I'm like, so dude, I just gotta ask him, like, so like, what do you do? Like, and he's like, her and her. And I'm like, oh, these two young women that he brought.
No.
And I'm just like, oh my God. But it's just like, Lambo owners are such a good time. And I thought about like what I would get if you ever gave me exotic money. And I would say design language wise, I want the world designed by Lamborghini. That's my personal aesthetic. But it's the clientele is such a flavor. I don't know if it's like a subtle. Here's a great question I came up with last Pebble, and I want to ask you two guys. You get 3 cars for the rest of your life.
Oh, we were going to ask you that question.
You get 3 cars for the rest of your life. That's it. Maintenance is taken care of. Taxes are taken care of. These are the only 3 driving experiences you ever will have ever. You can never buy another car. You can never sell them. That's it. So what would you do?
Luckily, I just thought about this the other day. Do you know?
And to help you out at all, I would probably do, not to mention, but I think I would personally do like a classic just for the experience, a modern exotic, and like a thing that I don't want to kill myself driving.
Right.
Yeah, I would exactly. I would just want to. If I only had 3
wagons.
If I only had 3, yeah, exactly.
63 RS6 and a Sport Turismo Porsche.
Pretty much, kid. No, I would obviously try to spread it out. I'd want something open air, and I'd want something that's really fast, and then I'd want something that I can like go anywhere with. Okay. So it'd have to be some kind of capable SUV type, like go anywhere, do anything.
He wants to.
All right, I'm into like vintage stuff. So I want like a resto modded FJ40.
Okay.
Because I
That
grew up,
sucks.
my dad had an FJ40, so I want a resto modded FJ40.
Get an Icon.
Isn't that a resto modded FJ40?
Yeah, but Icon's like a brand.
You're a
Very
dick.
nice.
It could be an Icon. It could
Whatever
be
he
bulletproof.
says, I'm gonna give
Could
him
be
shit.
bulletproof restorations. I would.
Yeah,
want,
sure. Yeah.
I want. And that also, I guess, would qualify as like my vintage car also, because I want a vintage experience. But if I were to go open air, that would probably wind up being, if that wasn't my vintage car, like I don't want to get 812 GTS because it will give me the experience of a modern hypercar and a convertible and a hardtop.
It's hard to argue with.
It is, and I would want something really special and hypercar-y in there, But
especially if it's the only car, if
so
you
the
can
FJ40,
you have to keep
you're
it.
at the 812 GTS.
Yeah, and then I'd want to throw like a super crazy hypercar in there, like a
Sorry.
P1.
Okay.
I'm not going too crazy. I'm not going to be the guy that says McLaren F1.
P1 will be
Right, I
an
appreciate
everlasting.
you keeping it in the realm of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's so
totally.
interesting that
If it wasn't the P1, it would be the CLK GTR. But like that, also, I feel like is just it's. Yeah, I don't know. Between those two,
People always forget. Like, you can look at it like a. I'm gonna go simple. You can look at like an R8 and be like, okay, cool, sick R8 or whatever. Like, oh, cool, sick, sick 458 or 488. But to realize when you're at a point where you have that much money to drop, that it's a choice, and you're actually making a choice as to where you feel that money best goes.
And
I
what's
would
special
die
enough.
if you gave me $250,000 and said choose your car.
I wouldn't choose one car. I'd choose multiple.
Would you go?
To be honest.
If I give you $250,000, you would choose a bunch of cars instead of buying like one car that's like.
If there's not one car that I want, dude, I could get my GT3 that I want so bad for 150, then I can have another 100 to get whatever else I want. I can get a wagon. I have 2 cool cars, and you'd be sitting there with your
your
McLaren.
Three.
So me F40 for sure. Always an F40. F40 is a
Hard drive.
badass car.
Have you driven that? I have not.
I have not. I've never even sat in it, and I really, really want to. I haven't driven any of the top class Ferraris, the LaFerrari, any of those. I've driven
That's a good
a lot of
one.
other
That's
stuff,
a
but
good
an F40 you have to have it. Like
Yeah.
that could be my car to show everyone up in.
Yeah.
Then I would say the GT3 with a stick because I love it, but since this is my lot, like if I can only have 3 cars, probably Carrera GT because I want something a little wilder.
Okay.
And then third, I have to go with an everyday car because if I'm driving
I
these
was gonna
cars
say
every
you
day,
better if
I'm
you
getting
did.
the E63S.
But a GT3,
E63S.
A GT3 would be a
Oh.
great daily.
what do you say, an E63S?
E63S wagon.
Yeah, obviously, but
How much are those? Is an E63S wagon?
they're 90 and change,
Okay.
Really? I
and then
thought
they
were
go
lower
up
than
from there. I mean, like you
You're
can
probably
get
right.
them, over 100 easily, but like I don't think you can get it anywhere close to like the 80s. I don't think you can really
Yeah.
spec them in the 80s.
But I don't know. Like I maybe get rid of the wagon because it's
Too
I don't know. It's
regular?
so tough, dude. My
3 cars for the rest
My
of your
opinion
life is such a
changes.
hard question.
My-
Let's also
Because
assume,
it'll
like,
also
see-
never happen.
Well,
You
it
know,
always
it's
happens,
like
like,
if
what
you were
happens
if you were stuck on a desert island and you could only have 3 cars
Right.
there, which ones would you drive around the
You
island?
guys are both pretty good though. 'Cause usually when I ask people that, they're like, "Oh, okay, fucking like I want a fucking Bugatti and I want a Koenigsegg and I'm like only 3 cars for the rest of your life." And they're like, and like a Mini Cooper." Like,
a Mini Cooper would be great. A original Morse.
Yeah, if it
Mini
was
would be
like an-
so
an
fun.
Austin
but
Cooper.
again, it's
Like-
all or nothing. Okay, now we're gonna bring it on to you because our last question we always ask people. We won't make the last question obviously, but if you're gonna have a 5-car garage, your dream 5-car garage, and we only say 5 because we'll give you an extra 2, but if you want to make it 3, we can make it 3.
You know, give
Again, money is no option.
Okay, all right.
object. Money is no object.
You've told me that before.
And I'll tell it to you again
Then
until
what-
you get it right.
Did I say option?
Yes.
Option. Money is no option.
Money is no option.
Don't people
You
say
don't
that?
have an option or money. It's object.
Money's no op. Okay, I don't know.
We need to do a quick little English lesson with
Hooked
you.
on phonics.
Just
This
like
episode of the podcast brought to you.
yeah, right.
me about
The other
that.
day he was
Grammar.
freaking out. He's like, I'm not all ADD about it.
I meant to say
OCD.
I was like, I'm a little dyslexic, all right?
All right. So 5 cars.
All right, let's start with
Shoot.
Let's see. I have a newfound appreciation for big cars because I have one. It's mandated with my work. I'm always a small car guy, but I just need one for equipment and stuff. I would probably need one big car, and I'm torn right now between the Urus or just a Model X. Between those 2 cars, it's just like Model X isn't that exciting, but it's hard to like come up with a really sound argument against it.
Totally,
As a car right now.
totally.
Yeah, but like, why would you go like Model X instead of like Range Rover SVR or whatever? Like,
it's faster. It's faster, and
You're right.
Boring-er.
it is though. It's boring, but
It's boring.
How's that for phonics?
In terms of hypercars, I will say I've gotten to drive a lot of stuff. There are pros and cons to every car. I have a hard time wiping the smile off my face in a 720S. I really do.
A lot of people say that, but do you think that like, would you stop at 720 if you had all the money and all the opportunity?
Like I'll
in
tell
the
you right
world,
now,
or would you push a P1?
Yeah, a Senna drives just like a 720, but with a big wing. What about the 765, which is a better
Ooh,
720?
760.
You got to think about these things, right?
765.
The 765 is
was it 650 LT, and with the little carbon seats.
the 600 LT.
Oh yeah, 600 LT. Oh my god.
Those are the Senna seats.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, that thing is tight.
Remember driving that thing?
Yeah.
For classics, God, I'd want something with a gated shifter, just because I think it'd be so fucking fun.
Oh yeah.
Dude, gated shifters are just
Freaking deep.
just that sound.
Probably Courage GT is gated, yeah.
Nope.
It's not gated.
It's also the
It's
driven
manual.
one?
It's just
Have
not
not
gated.
Toughest clutch of all time. If you
Really?
give it any gas in first gear, you burn the clutch. So it's just a clutch out car.
So you just start it in second?
No, you have to start in
You
first.
you just let off the
Just
clutch
let off
and
the
it just
clutch.
moves.
And if you're on a hill, you're just hoping.
Fuck.
But that's what makes it fun. 'cause
No,
you're
but
like,
gated
you're
would
like,
gated
"Yeah."
would be like Lambos, like Mercy and
Right.
Diablo.
or like older, like Lambos,
An SV
and also
manual
older
and
older
Lambo.
Ferraris.
A
I've
Mercy
never
SV
driven, I've
manual.
never driven a manual Lambo.
I've driven a manual Diablo. They're not as great to drive as they are to look at, but they're damn cool.
But
Yeah.
but
They're
just the
damn
clicky
cool.
of the gated shifter.
Right, that's what I want. I want the like, response.
It's very.
Yeah. Oh man, that's such a good question. I should have come after sitting down and grilling you guys on that.
Yeah, no, you're
I
like,
mean,
no,
but as a
seconds
car
ago.
guy, are you not constantly thinking of like my ultimate garage?
all the time. It just is
And
filled
it's
with
just
100
always
cars
changing.
instead of
Yeah,
5.
exactly.
And then I'm like, okay, well, do I want like a, do I want a Performante or do I want a fucking, Centenario at that point? Like, how crazy am I going to go?
True.
I will say, I had a Lotus Elise for a little bit of time.
Okay,
I love
That's
that car.
really
I
fun.
love those cars.
They're great. No power off the line, but they're beautiful.
You can
and
slide them around all day.
they're just like that car feels like, because I got my motorcycle license. I was like, the most I will say of any car I've ever done. I've done over 200 miles an hour. I've driven a
Really?
lot of shit.
That's freaking awesome
Thanks.
too.
What'd you do over
That's cool.
200 in?
This guy's a Renaissance man.
Venstore.
Oh, sick. Was it that Aventador?
No, it's
It
not.
wasn't
No,
that
it's not.
It was down Rodeo Drive.
I did do 180 once outside thermal in a Performante Gallardo, which I didn't realize was a thing at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I just found a 5 mile straight outside of thermal. It was out there, and I just drove the whole thing at night to make sure it was clean. Drove the whole thing back to make sure it was clean, and then just ripped it. That was probably one of the stupider things I've done. But I will say, of everything I've ever driven, the most fun driving experience I've ever had, doesn't even come close to anything else, is 30 miles an hour on a motorcycle. It just, if you've ever done it is the most exhilarating. You are the road. You feel every mile per hour ever.
Yeah, I love
I
bikes.
did it. I got my license. Did it on the freeway. I was like, if I get a bike, I'm going to go fast. If I go fast,
I'm gonna kill myself.
So I was like, what is the most stripped down version of that I can get with a cage? And I ended on the Elise, which was a lot of fun. That car feels like, imagine you're go-karting with your friends, and then you take the go-kart, and you exit the go-kart facility, and then like you get on the
You
405,
drive
and you're like, this, I shouldn't be on the freeway.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
a real car right now. I really have an appreciation for cars like that. I would say GT3 would probably be in that garage.
Phenomenal
just 'cause
car.
it's just pure.
You've driven the stick
I
before?
have.
Isn't it just like
It's confidence inspiring as a driver, because
it's a driver's car for sure?
and that's what I try to explain to people who haven't driven supercars. Is like, if you're driving like even like a V8 Mustang in the canyons, you're battling the weight of this
Totally.
thing, and it's hard. You're doing calculations. Do that same canyon in like a 458, and you are holding hands with the car as like a team.
Yeah.
To just like,
You're dancing.
yeah.
You're getting the
Because
groove.
there's so much electronic assistance that's
No, but
making
they
sure
just-
that you don't fuck up,
Yeah.
and so that the car doesn't fuck up. And when you talk about especially like a Mustang, where there's so little electronic interference, and it's just all about power and wheels,
Power through
and
wheels.
like
That's
that's it.
As
And
far as they got.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was like, so we got the back wheels turned in, and we're good to
I
go.
would say, haven't driven it, but the new Ford GT, it's hard to say it. It's hard to say. It's like
I like the looks, but I don't like the
V6
the-
or
I've
well,
heard
like
such
the
mixed
ethos.
things
Yeah, like I
from
don't like.
clients and other people.
that might be I will say it's hard. That is top 3, I think, best looking cars on the road today.
It's
I just think it
badass.
looks fucking.
In race mode,
even the
it's-
old one is like amazing,
classic.
incredibly good looking car.
Ooh, that's a gated.
I would rather have. That's not gated.
It's
but
not gated, but it is
it's
a
not.
gnarly.
I would rather
dirt
have
shifter.
that than the new one. I've never driven the new one. I'm not really that interested in it.
Just because
The
but
old
the
one
Ford
is.
GT, the old one, is like the American F40. It's
Yeah.
like
Oh
the most
yeah.
pure
It's literally
analog.
like an
Yeah.
homage, and
Yeah.
it might as well be the same car, like
Right,
with a
yeah,
cleaner interior.
100%. I'm being really bad at answering this question. I'm gonna say Ford GT, GT3 RS. I'm only pulling from cars I've driven, so it's like.
Well, it's okay. It's good to say that. So you're not just.
Perf, I think, is one of the best driving experiences I've ever had.
I agree with that.
I would say I'll do something comfy. It's a comfy car.
Well, I mean, dude,
Continental GT.
You just experienced the brand new Ghost. You
Oh
just
my
had the
God.
opportunity to
That-
like do the whole.
First
you
time I
know?
got to drive a Ghost, I was at an event in Malibu, and they somehow, thank God, fucked up, and like there was an extra key, and someone had to drive it back to Beverly Hills.
We've got an extra
It was late, and I was so tired because I'd pulled an all-nighter the night before. They're like, "Will you drive it?" I said, "Yeah, sure." It was the end of this long day, and I'm driving, and it is the quietest, comfiest car. I had to like blast the music and have all the windows down. It was like sleeping on driving on a bed. But that car is, oh man, the Ghost, they did a great job. on that
Yeah.
car. The little attention to detail.
I would love to know way more about that whole day you had with Mo, but we're running out of
course.
time,
No,
and you
no,
got to
no.
finish this. You got to finish this question.
Okay, so what do I have so far? I have Ford GT, new one. Which you
GT3.
disagree with, that's fine. GT3.
Performante.
Performante. I'm going to go classic on this as well. It's a good fucking classic. I could see myself, if I'm going comfy, I could see myself doing a DBS, the new DBS. I think
That is a
it's
very
sick.
that's more of a comfort car than a.
It is.
you know?
It's 700
Yeah, but it's
horsepower.
got the best of both worlds.
Right.
Like like you were saying, you can definitely get the power out of it if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
down in the right gears.
I compare it more to a Continental GT than A12.
Yeah,
People
and
always want to put it with the
it's
A12,
not
but
trying
it's
to
not.
be in that slot, but it is.
Yeah.
in that
It
slot.
has-
Maybe
yeah,
just
yeah.
the brand. I don't know. The numbers are all there. But.
Right.
And then just to have some like real classic analog, I could see myself in an old Ferrari, an old 250 if money was no object, just to have just the anxiety of parking this thing wrong.
Yeah,
spinning
right.
the wheels.
Hiring 5
Yeah.
people with guns to watch it
Yeah,
when you're
that's the
gone.
thing about the gas. And
That's
the
what I would
cars.
do. Well, that's a good 5-car garage.
Solid lineup.
That is really good.
You can't go wrong with the 250.
No, right? Safe. It's a safe bet. It's my retirement.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's either the 250 or the F1. It's pretty much like, oh, I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Oh, 250. All right. All right.
Well,
Well,
guys,
it sounds like
that
we're
is our
running out of
time.
Okay.
You guys are delightful. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it was an
Thank
absolute
you for
pleasure,
coming
man.
on. It's been great getting to know you, asking these questions. You're an amazing guest. We hope to have you on again in 5 years when Advent Films is just taking off and you get
should
this.
swing by set. You should
Hopefully
swing-
we
got-
would love to.
We've got a few more arm car jobs coming up.
Dope.
We would love to.
Cool.
If you need a PA, call this guy.
and if anyone is listening and they have any interest in bridging the gap from doing car videos with their friends to commercial stuff, you said it earlier. Just shoot. You're going to learn more shooting about what works and what doesn't work than you would doing anything else. I still learn something on every single shoot I do about what works and what doesn't. And ultimately, the bigger your portfolio is, the more reputable you're going to be for someone to just take that risk on you, as I was lucky enough to have someone take a risk on me. So just shoot. Just go plan something and go shoot.
That is some great advice.
And I have the balls because it sounds like, the first guy that you went to said no, and then you went back and you showed that person exactly what you could do. And then they said yes. And on top of them saying yes, they said yes like multiple times and gave you a ton of opportunities.
Gave me the opportunity.
So yeah, like you're the perfect example of just like, don't stop when someone says no the first time, and just the proof is in the pudding. Like just show them what you can do.
It's the second time you've said that weird phrase. I haven't
You've
heard
never
you-
heard that?
I've heard that, but never from you. And twice in
The-
one day is
the,
pretty.
the proof is in the pudding.
Don't like how you say that. It's making me feel
But
weird.
like the pudding,
Please.
if you've ever had pudding before,
I'm
there's
not some like
usually some
8-year-old
proof in
man.
there. Well,
All right.
thanks for coming on, AJ. You've been an absolute pleasure. Thanks everybody for watching if you've made it this far. And that's our show for today.
That's our show, guys. Make sure to follow AJ Bleyer on Instagram, Advent Films. We're going to put all of the links in the description. Again, my name is Lorenzo Iacomini, a.k.a. The Speedy Guidi.
And my name is Cody Lewis, a.k.a. the LA Car Spotter.
And my voice just cracked. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.
At night.
All right, we're golden.
Where's my drive? Here she is. Where's my clutch? Here she is. Where's AJ?